Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission here, as always, is pretty straightforward. We dive into the sources, cut through the noise, and give you the solid knowledge you need on a topic.
hmm
And today, we're doing something really practical, really useful, a deep dive into English usage itself.
Yeah, this is going to be good.
We're tackling 5 of the most, persistent, common mistakes that learners often make. And let's be honest, sometimes even native speakers get caught out by these.
That's so true. And, the sources we're drawing on today, they're all about refining things, moving beyond just getting your point across to, real linguistic precision.
Right.
And crucially, this isn't about making anyone feel bad about mistakes. I mean, everyone makes them. It's totally normal.
Absolutely.
The goal here is just awareness, seeing the patterns and figuring out how to improve. Think of it like adding that final polish to make your English sound not just functional, but really fluent, professional even.
Exactly. Getting these 5 distinctions down, really integrating them, it makes a huge difference. You'll sound clearer, more confident. It's kind of a shortcut to sounding more natural.
Definitely. And just so everyone knows what's coming, we've structured this around the 5 big pairs that always cause trouble.
Okay, lay them out for us.
Right. So first up, 2 versus 4. Then number 2, say versus tell.
Okay.
Third, the classic headache, affect versus effect.
Yeah.
Fourth is about verbs, is versus are, specifically with those tricky collective nouns.
Got it.
And finally, number 5, less versus fewer.
Okay, a solid lineup. Let's dive straight into number 1 then. The one that really opens the door to preposition confusion. 2 versus 4.
Yeah, this is a foundational one. And like our sources point out, a lot of the confusion comes from your first language.
How so?
Well, if your native language just uses one word for both, direction and purpose, it's really easy to mix them up when you switch to English. Those concepts just get tangled.
Right, so you instinctively reach for one word when English actually demands 2 separate ones.
Exactly. So we need to build 2 distinct mental boxes for these. Let's start with the box for toe. What's its main job?
Its core function.
Yeah. At its heart, to is about direction or destination. It signals movement towards something, a physical goal usually.
Like the examples our sources give.
Precisely. The basics. I'm going to the store destination, or I walk to school every day.
Yeah.
School is destination. You're moving across space towards that point.
Okay, that's clear. Physical movement.
Huh.
But crucially, it's not just physical, is it? It stretches into, conceptual movement, too, like identifying the recipient.
Yes, that's the key extension. To also points to the recipient, the target, the endpoint of an action or communication,
Right.
even if nobody's actually walking anywhere.
Ah, okay.
So, I need to talk to you. My words are directed at you. You're the conversational destination, if you will.
Got it. The action flows to the receiver.
Right. Same for verbs like give, send, explain, listen. Give to someone, send to someone, explain to someone.
That's a super helpful way to think about it. If energy or an object or words are moving towards a person or a thing, literally or metaphorically, it's probably 2.
You got it.
Okay, so that's 2. Now let's completely switch gears. What about 4? If 2 is direction, what's 4 all about?
Right. Foresthea lives in the land of purpose or benefit. It tells you why something is done or who gets the advantage from it. It basically answers what's the reason or who's this for.
So if I buy a gift, the reason isn't where I'm going, it's who gets the gift, the benefit.
Exactly. The source examples nail this perfectly. I bought this present for my mom. Mom benefits. She's the purpose behind the buying.
Okay.
Or this cake is for the party. The party is the reason the cake exists. Its intended
Yeah.
purpose. It's all about the why, the motivation, not the direction of travel.
Okay, I see. And this is where it gets mixed up sometimes, right? Like when someone does something on behalf of someone else.
Yeah, that's a common confusion point. Let's say, I need you to call someone. A learner might mistakenly say, I need to call to my client, maybe thinking of directing the call.
Right. When they mean the client receives the call, which should be call my client directly or maybe speak to my client.
Exactly. But then, if they say, I need to speak for my client, that's totally different. That means they're acting on behalf of the client. Substitution, advocacy.
Ah, so for implies doing it instead of them or representing them. Huge difference in meaning.
Massive. The preposition totally changes the dynamic. Calling for supplies means the supplies are the purpose. Calling to the supplier means the supplier is the recipient. Subtle but crucial.
Okay, what about time? Because both words pop up with time, and that can muddy the waters too.
It can, yeah, but they handle different aspects of time. To usually marks an endpoint or a range boundary, like working from 9 to 5. start point, end point.
Okay, limits.
Right. Whereas for indicates duration. How long something lasts, I waited for 2 hours. That tells you the span of time. The
Yeah.
benefit, you could almost say, was 2 hours of waiting time.
Huh, okay. That makes sense. It deepens the rule. So, quick summary. Direction, destination, recipient, endpoint, boundary. 2. Purpose, benefit, duration, acting on behalf. 4.
That's it. And the key really is active practice. Every time you're about to write, or say 2 or 4, just pause for a second. Ask yourself, am I pointing or am I explaining why?
That mental check.
Yeah, that critical thinking beats just trying to memorize rules any day.
Great point. Okay, that sets us up nicely for mistake number 2, which also deals with recipients of information, say versus tell.
Oh, this is a huge one. I hear things like, she told us she was going out, or can you say me where the station is?
Nah.
All the time.
Yeah, common slips.
And the fix is pretty clear-cut, actually. It almost always boils down to one thing. Is the listener the direct object mentioned right after the verb?
So the immediate test is, do I name the person who heard it?
Yes, exactly. Let's break down say first. We use say when we're focused just on the words themselves, what was actually uttered. And crucially, we usually don't stick the listener right after the verb say.
Okay, so say the content, the source example. He said that he was tired. No listener mentioned right there.
Right. Or she said hello. The action stops with hello. If you do want to mention the listener with say, you need that little helper word to. She said hello to me.
Ah, okay. You need the to.
Yeah, and that to requirement is often what trips learners up. They're used to verbs that just take the object directly. Seder doesn't really like doing that. It wants to report the speech itself.
Got it. So now the other side, tell. This one does like having a receiver nearby.
Tell definitely does. Its whole job is basically transmitting info to someone specific. So it absolutely needs that direct object of the listener right after the verb. If you use tell, you got to say who you told.
That's the non-negotiable part.
Pretty much. He told me that he was tired. Me has to be there. You generally can't just say, he told that he was tired. I mean, you might hear it in super casual, clipped speech, but it's not standard. It sounds incomplete.
So the structure is strict. Who tells plus tell plus who was told plus the information.
Exactly. She told her friends a funny story. Her friends is essential. And notice, we usually don't use to with tell. While you could technically say, she told a story to us, it just sounds clunky.
Yeah, much less natural than she told us a story.
Way less natural.
This seems especially important for reported speech, right? That's where things often go wrong.
Oh, absolutely. When you're relaying what someone else said, you often use, say, if you're quoting directly or just stating the content. She said, I have to go.
Okay.
But you often switch to tell if you're focusing on the instruction or the information being passed to someone specific. She told me to go. Tell often carries that sense of conveying necessary info or narrating something, like a story, a secret, instructions.
Right, like you're giving information to someone. Are there any fixed phrases where you just always use tell? Even if the listener isn't explicitly stated right after.
Yeah, there are some common ones. Things like tell a story, tell a lie, tell the truth, tell a secret. Also, tell the time.
Ah, yeah, you don't say the time.
Right, you tell the time. In these cases, the thing being told, the story, the lie, the time, almost acts like the object, or the act of telling itself is the main point. They're idiomatic.
And what about fixed phrases for say? Any common pairings?
Say tends to go with shorter, more general utterances or social formulas like say hello, say goodbye, say thank you, say sorry, say a prayer, usually brief, self-contained things you utter.
Okay, so boiling it down, the main structural clue is that person right after the verb. If they're there, it's almost certainly tell. If the verb leads straight into the quote or the content, or if you need to bring in the listener, it's say. Getting that structure right cleans up so many common errors.
It really does. It forces you to think, am I just reporting words, say? Or am I actively passing information to someone? Tell. Big difference.
Okay, brilliant. That's 2 down. Let's shift to our third pair, the one that causes universal groans, even for native speakers. Affect versus effect.
Ah, yes, the big one. The heavyweight champion of confusion.
Why is it so darn tricky?
Well, a few reasons. They sound almost identical, especially in fast speech. They're spelled super similarly. And to make matters worse, they actually can cross over into each other's grammatical roles in some very specific niche situations.
Okay, so let's start with the main rule, the one that works like 95% of the time. That's the foundation we need.
Absolutely. And that main rule is all about their job in the sentences they're part of speech. The easiest trick I know is A, for action. Affect is almost always a verb. It means to influence, to impact, to produce a change in. It's the doing word.
Okay, so if the word describes the influencing action itself, use affect.
Exactly. Like the source examples. The rain will affect our plans. The rain is doing the influencing. It's acting upon the plans.
Right. Or, his criticism didn't affect her decision. The criticism failed to influence her. Affect is the cause, the influencing force.
Got it. A for action, effect is the verb. So then effect must be the result, the outcome, the noun. E for end result or outcome.
Perfect. Effect is usually the noun. It refers to the result, the consequence, the outcome of that action or influence. It's what happens because of the affecting.
So following your rain example,
Yeah.
if the rain affects the plans.
The effect might be that we stay indoors. Staying indoors is the result, the consequence of the rain's influence.
I find linking them helps too. Like the new policy will affect employee morale. That's the influence, the verb. The main effect of the policy was increased productivity. That's the result, the noun.
That cause and result connection is the absolute key for everyday use. Quick check. Can you swap in the word influence or impact? Use effect, verb. Can you swap in result or consequence? Use effect, noun. Okay, that 95% rule seems solid. A for action effect, verb. E for effect and result, noun. But this is the deep dive.
We got to tackle all the tricky exceptions, right? For the people aiming for that 100% mastery.
We do. Gotta acknowledge them. They do exist, mainly in more formal or specialized contexts. Let's start with effect sneaking into the verb role.
Okay, effect as a verb. How does that work?
It's much rarer, and it means something quite specific. To bring about, to cause, to accomplish, or to implement. It's a strong, deliberate verb. You usually hear it in formal settings, like policy or business.
So it's not just influencing, it's making it happen. Like the manager wanted to effect changes in the workflow, meaning she wanted to implement those changes.
Precisely. It's about creation or implementation, not just influence. The aim of the therapy is to effect a cure, meaning to bring about a cure. Very purposeful.
Okay, that makes sense, but definitely sounds more formal. Now, what about the other way around? Effect as a noun. I feel like I've maybe seen this in, like, psychology. You probably have. That's exactly where it pops up. Effect as a noun, and note the pronunciation often shifts, stress on the first syllable.
Yeah.
AFF-ect. Refers to a person's observable emotional state, their mood, their outward expression of feeling.
So a psychologist might write in their notes, the patient displayed a flat affect.
Exactly. Meaning the patient seemed emotionally unresponsive or showed very little emotional expression. It's a technical term in psychology and related fields. It's not about influence at all in this case. It's about emotion.
Okay, so that noun use is very field specific. It depends entirely on context.
Entirely. But here's the good news for most learners. In everyday, normal conversation and writing, you'll almost never need affect as a noun, and you'll very rarely need affect as the verb to bring about.
So the practical advice is?
Stick to the main rule. A for action, affect verb. E for end result, affect equal noun. Master that 95% rule first. Know the exceptions exist, but don't stress about using them unless you're writing a formal policy paper or a psych report.
Okay, that's sensible. Master the core rule. Understand the rare nuances.
Got it. Right, that wraps up the first three-word pairs. Let's switch focus now from choosing the right word to getting the grammar right. Specifically, agreement. Is versus are when you're talking about collective nouns.
Yeah, this is another tricky area because collective nouns themselves are kind of deceptive.
How so?
Well, there are words like team, family, committee, jury, government, audience, staff. Words that look singular nose on the end, but they clearly represent a group of multiple people or things.
Right, and the big question is, does that singular-looking word get a singular verb? Is, has, does, or a plural verb, are, have, do?
Exactly. And the answer, frustratingly perhaps, is. It depends. It depends entirely on how you are thinking about that group in that specific sentence.
Okay, so it's about perspective. Are we seeing the group as one thing or as lots of individuals?
That's the core distinction. Let's call them Rule 1 and Rule 2. Rule 1, the group is a single unit. When do we use the singular verb, like is?
When should we use is? You use is, or was, has, etc., when the group is acting together as one single entity, doing one thing collectively, or being described as a single whole.
Examples help here.
Definitely. Think, the team is playing exceptionally well tonight. They're performing as one unit. My family is coming over for dinner. They're arriving as one group. The committee is issuing its final report, one report from one committee.
Okay, makes sense. If they act as one, treat it as singular. So, rule 2, focusing on the individuals. When do we need the plural verb are?
You switch to are or were, have, when your sentence is highlighting the individual members within that group, especially if they're doing different things, have different opinions, or are being considered separately, the action isn't unified.
Okay, so give us some contrasting examples for that.
Right. Compare the team as winning, acting as one, with the team are changing into their individual uniforms. Each player is doing it separately. Or, my family is large, describing the unit, versus my family are always arguing about politics. The individuals have differing views and are arguing separately. The jury is delivering its verdict, one verdict, versus the jury are disagreeing amongst themselves. Focus on the internal division.
That distinction feels logical, but I know there's a big catch based on where you learned your English, right? The US versus UK thing.
Oh, absolutely. This is a major point of difference between American and British English. American English strongly prefers treating collective nouns as singular most of the time.
Really? Even when the individuals are doing things?
Yeah, it's very common and generally accepted in the U.S. to say things like, the band is tuning their instruments, or the government is divided. The singular verb often wins out, focusing on the group as the subject.
Okay, so Americans tend towards is. What about the British?
British English is much more likely and often expects you to use the plural verb, are, when you're thinking about the individual members. So they would actually say, the team are putting on their boots, or the committee are unable to agree. It emphasizes the plurality within the group.
That's a really important difference for learners to know. Depending on whether you're aiming for American or British English, the correct answer might shift.
It really can. So if your main context is American English, defaulting to the singular verb is often the safer bet. If you're in a British English environment, you need to be more sensitive to that unit versus individuals. Distinction and use are more readily when individuals are implied.
That's great practical advice. And what if you're just not sure or want to avoid the issue altogether?
Ah, the clever workaround. You can often just rephrase the sentence to make the subject explicitly plural. Instead of wrestling with the committee is arguing, just say the members of the committee are arguing. Problem solved.
Huh. Make the subject clearly plural. Members, players, people. And the verb choice becomes obvious.
Exactly. It's a smart way to guarantee clarity, especially in writing, without getting bogged down in regional preferences or subtle distinctions.
Excellent tip. Okay, that covers collective nouns. We're on to our final common mistake area for this deep dive, and it's another one that sparks endless debate. Less versus fewer.
Yes, the bane of supermarket checkout signs everywhere.
Huh. 10 items or less.
Exactly. It's everywhere, but technically, grammatically, it grates on the ears of purists, and the rule itself is actually quite straightforward.
Okay, what's the core rule? It's about countability, right?
Precisely. It all hinges on whether the noun you're talking about is countable or uncountable. Let's start with fewer. We use fewer when we're talking about nouns that you can count individually. Discrete items, things you can put a number on.
1, 2, 3.
Yep. You can count them one by one. You use fewer when comparing a smaller quantity. I have fewer apples than you do. You can count apples. There were fewer people at the meeting this week. You can count people.
So fewer books, fewer cars, fewer mistakes, fewer opportunities. If it's countable, use fewer.
You got it. Simple as that.
Okay, so if fewer is for countables, then less must be for the other kind, uncountable nouns.
Exactly. Less is used for things that you can't really count individually. Things that come in a mass, a volume, or are abstract concepts, stuff you measure rather than count.
Like what? Give us some examples.
Think about liquids like water or juice. There's less milk in this jug. Abstract ideas like time, information, stress, happiness. I have less time today. We receive less information than expected, try to feel less stress. Or general masses like sugar, rice, traffic. Put less sugar on my coffee. There's less traffic on Sundays. You don't count one traffic or one stress.
Right, you measure them or experience them in degrees. Okay, that seems clear. But what about those tricky categories like money, time, and distance? Because sometimes we do count dollars or miles or hours.
Ah, excellent point. This is where context is key. When we talk about money as a general concept like wealth or funds, it's uncountable, so we use less. She has less money since she quit her job.
Okay, general money in the less.
But if you start talking about the specific countable units of money, like dollars, pounds, euros, coins, then you switch to fewer. I have fewer dollars in my pocket today. There are fewer coins in the jar.
Same logic for time and distance.
Exactly the same. Time as a general concept takes less. We have less time than we thought, but specific units of time take fewer. I have fewer hours to finish this. There are fewer minutes left.
And distance?
General distance. Less distance to drive now, specific units. Fewer miles to go, fewer kilometers on this route. The moment you name the countable unit, you flip to fewer.
That distinction between the general concept and the specific units is really helpful, which brings us back to that supermarket sign. 10 items or less. Items are countable, right? 1 item, 2 items.
Absolutely countable. So grammatically speaking, it should definitely be 10 items or fewer.
So why is less so common there? And in phrases like less people? Just casual speech habits.
Pretty much. Less sometimes feels a bit smoother or quicker in informal speech. And maybe people think of 10 items as a threshold quantity rather than a specific count. But grammatically, when you're talking about a number of individual countable things, like items or people or problems, the correct comparative for a smaller number is fewer. For polished, standard English, especially in writing, you need to stick to that.
Okay, so the definitive takeaway. Countable things you can number. Use fewer. Uncountable stuff you measure in amount or degree. Use less. Get that right, and you've nailed one of the most common grammar slip-ups.
Definitely. And yeah, you'll hear less people all the time informally.
Yeah.
But if you want to sound correct and careful, always go for fewer people, fewer problems, fewer cars.
Right. Okay, wow. So that's our 5 big areas covered. We've really dug into the details here. What's the big picture for someone listening to all this?
Well, we've gone through these 5 tricky pairs, looking not just at the basic rule, but also some of the nuances, right?
Yeah,
So for to versus for, it was direction recipient to versus purpose benefit for.
got it. For say versus tell, the key was tell needs that listener object right after it, while say focuses on the words.
Then affect versus effect. Remember, A for action, effect equals verb influence. E for enrolled, effect noun consequence, ignoring the rare exceptions for most uses.
Right. Then is versus are for collective nouns. Depends if you see the group as a single unit, is, or individuals are, keeping the US-UK difference in mind.
And just now, less versus fewer. Fewer for countable things, less for uncountable mass quantity.
That's a lot of fine-tuning, but like you said at the start, it's not about never making mistakes.
Not at all. Mistakes are totally fine. They're how we learn. The real goal now, having heard all this, is awareness. Noticing these points in what you read and hear, and consciously trying to apply the right form in your own speaking and writing.
It's about moving from just knowing the rule to actually using it.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to try. So maybe here's a little challenge, a final thought to take away. Pick just one of these pairs this week. Maybe the one you found trickiest, perhaps. Effect and effect.
Good one.
And just really focus on it. Every time you write or say something where one of those words might fit, consciously pause. Ask yourself, is this the action influence effect or the result consequence effect? Just focusing hard on one pair can really help solidify it in your mind.
That active practice makes all the difference. It turns passive knowledge into an active skill.
Absolutely. Keep practicing, keep noticing, keep improving. That's the journey.
Fantastic advice. Thanks so much for breaking all that down for us.
My pleasure. Always fun to dive deep into the nuts and bolts of English.
And thank you for joining us on the deep dive. We'll catch you next time.